And we are live. Hello and welcome to the FitRoots Podcast. My name is Aidan Lee and I'm the founder of FitRoots and the host of this show. First of all, I'm going to give you a short version of my history, my background and my experience. I'm 26 years old. I'm from Slough in the UK, which is in Berkshire and 20 miles west of central London. I first started in the world of health and well-being in the world of martial arts. My dad was my first instructor as he ran Warlord's Kickboxing Academy, which was one of the first martial arts schools specializing in kickboxing in the Berkshire area since the 1980s. So I started when I was 5 years old, and by the time I was 10 years old, I was already helping out and teaching others in the class and sometimes taking those classes too. Within this area, I also went to compete in mostly American style kickboxing, so that's above the waist, but then eventually went on to learn K1 style, which is more below the waist, kicks and knees and things like that. I then went on to study other martial arts, things like boxing, Muay Thai, Wing Chun, MMA, and I also started yoga when I was about 15 years old. Moving on from there, the vision and the aim was always to be a professional fighter and essentially become a world champion. However, I went to study and went to do my A-levels, and I then went to university where I studied philosophy. And I really opened up my mind even more. Martial arts and philosophy have a great link, which I really found went in sync and in harmony at this time in my life. However, when I came out of university and then tried to pursue a professional career in kickboxing, after various injuries, insights, no money, of course, and problems, and even health problems as well, I decided that this wasn't the path for me. So I had to figure out essentially what I had to do and what I wanted to do. Moving on, that was a couple of years ago now. So I was 21, 22 at the time. I had to figure out, right, how can I earn some money and get back into a normal way of life? I went into normal jobs and realized this is not really what I want to do. I don't want to work for someone, but I also don't want to just do something that I'm not passionate about. And I was really struggling to find out what that was. However, some will say it was staring me right in the face, considering I had this vast background of martial arts and health and well-being in my life. So slowly time came around and I realized, hey, why don't I get back into that world and do it as a career? So I decided to open FitRoots. And initially I focused more on the personal training side of things. And eventually in the last sort of year, or give or take, I've realized that I wanted to go back to my roots and really go back to opening the greatest martial arts school possible. Now, that's pretty much bringing us to present day. And I want to go into telling you guys about what this podcast is about and what the purpose is. The FitRoots Podcast is focused on philosophy, martial arts, health, well-being, and business. I want to give you an idea of what we're really getting into. So I'm going to show and share with you guys what our statement is and what the statement is we're trying to make in this world. So we build modern warriors by helping men evolve to their ultimate potential. We will help you transform, not only physically, but mentally, socially, psychologically, and even financially. Do you struggle with finding the time, knowledge, and motivation to walk the path to your own black belt in life? If so, this is stopping you from achieving your highest purpose, your freedom, and your true state of wisdom. I want you to join us in the FitRoots community as we bring you the best experts in their craft who will help you master your life goals with philosophy, martial arts, health, well-being, and business. So I want to move on to the bigger picture. What is the big picture? What is this going to do for you guys that are actually listening to this? And how is it going to take you to the next level in your life? So the idea is that you, as a fellow student in life, can take away actionable tips, strategies, and methods that will change your physical and mental self for the better forever. So not just a fad, not just a one-off, not a New Year's resolution. I want you guys to follow along and change your lives forever. You'll have direct access to our expert guests and even myself. If you decide to act upon the lessons that are given within, there is no doubt that you'll definitely be able to optimize and rebalance your whole life once and for all. If you are stuck, whether it be with your health, your purpose, and or your business, we will get you unstuck together. We want to actively engage with you. And I want us both, that is you and me included, to consider yourself as one of our students. So even if you aren't our student already, I want you to consider yourself as if you are. And this podcast and this process is about you becoming a student again. And by being one of our students through this podcast, I will do my very best to make sure you achieve your goals here on out. I encourage you to contact me with your questions and we will give you answers. Let's move on to why I'm doing this podcast. I'm doing this podcast because I want to transform as many people's lives as possible. I truly believe that the combination of genuine philosophy, martial arts, biomechanics, postural correction, breathing optimization, functional strength training, and correct flexibility and mobility training is the best combination of fields to achieve optimal health and well-being. I also know that a lot of people truly struggle with achieving their goals in life, and that a lot of the time is down to their poor health and well-being, physically and mentally speaking. On top of that, the world of health advice is very, very confusing, and there are a lot of people peddling unsafe, unethical, and downright dodgy information which you should not trust. I want you to avoid damaging yourself and wasting valuable time. In terms of philosophy, it can be hard to absorb because a lot of the times it's shrouded in the academic world. And the academia of philosophy haven't really done a great job of bringing that to the masses. Yes, there has been some newer efforts in more recent times, but I still don't think it's sufficient. Instead, what has taken its place is what's called quote unquote self-help. Modern self-help is taken over, but I think and genuinely believe it misses key elements and doesn't give you guys the full picture and the full story. Essentially, what we're really coming down to as well is how to think rather than not what to think. So let me rephrase that. In philosophy, we were always taught, make sure you don't necessarily follow what we say. However, let's teach you how to think rather than what to actually think. So this is where critical thinking and philosophy comes in. So the next thing is, well, is this for you and who is this for? This podcast is for men who are busy entrepreneurs, 30 to 45 years old and who do well in business. You guys struggle with finding the time, the knowledge and motivation to evolve physically and mentally, which stops you from achieving your ultimate purpose, your freedom and your true state of wisdom. If you have little time on your hands and want to do this health thing right, once and for all, our knowledge will help you get to your goals in record time without spending the thousands of hours I have invested personally in research, practice and experimenting, not only on myself, but also on my fellow students. And if you struggle with getting rid of the tie around your waist, are low on energy, do not feel confident in your body, don't feel as good in the bedroom as you do in the boardroom, and think you can further enhance your health, then this podcast is for you. What is the next challenge? So I want to be open and really honest with you guys. So what has been the biggest challenge for me in this podcast? I want to talk to you briefly about my experience about losing the will to train essentially after, and really looking after my health after stopping my vision for fighting and competing. And you know what happened to me basically when I realized that I had to let go of my dream of competing and fighting and basically pursuing that as my thing. After I finished university, I realized I was essentially broken. I didn't have a purpose, a vision, a direction. I didn't really know what I want. For the whole of my life, I thought that's what I wanted, and I thought that is how I was going to spend my time. But it basically crumbled all around me. And then I thought, hey, that was the reason I needed to look after my health. I never was one of those people who didn't really just look after health in general. That was the reason. So it felt very strange to me then to move on to say, right, I just need to be healthy for the sake of being healthy. And it was only at that point that I really understood what the general public feels like when you guys say, hey, I don't know what it really feels like to just be healthy for the sake of it. And as a result, I had various health problems, whether it be skin problems like eczema, depression, losing weight. I'm not a big guy, so losing weight for me was not what I wanted. And it basically put me down to a place I never thought I would go, being someone who I thought epitomized health. I really didn't think that would be me. So I did overcome it. And in the end, of course, I realized that I had to have a new purpose and direction. And when I truly founded and made FitRoots my new direction and thing in life, it really pulled me out of those depths. So I just want to give you a quick insight into what I really learned from this challenge. Essentially, I learned that I had to find another passion and purpose. I couldn't go on in limbo, wondering what was happening and trying to pull myself out of it, but not really get into any direction. So I really also believe that as men, we are very much purpose driven. We need to have a direction in life, or we need to at least feel like that we are carving one for the later road. And if we don't, I think as men, we also believe that we don't really contribute to society in the way that we want. Essentially, this is symptomatic of many of the problems we are facing in society today, but we'll go into that another time. And as I've said, I've since found my new purpose, and hence that was the biggest lesson, is find a new purpose and get over it that way. Lastly, I just want to share with you the ambitions for this podcast over the next 6 months, 12 months, 10 years or whatever. Where do I see it going, and what kind of guests there will be, and essentially how it will affect you guys and the rest of the world. So my ambitions for this podcast are for it to influence and transform over 1 million men's lives over the next 5 to 10 years. Now, I know I'm sitting here on this first episode thinking, gosh, that's a big task, but I'm confident it can be done, and that also many men need more guidance and help now than they ever have. In the years to come, with the help and the mission of this podcast, it will mean that we can offer our community the best in health and wellness solutions in the market, whether that be for our martial arts schools, personal training, online membership sites, courses, workshops, products, retreats, and much more. But ultimately, I want this to transform and get deep into your life, and that you can feel like you have a purpose to look after your health and optimize your health and well-being, so that you can give back to society in the way that I know a lot of men want to do. So let's finish up there, guys. I really do look forward to learning and growing with you all on this journey together. Until the next episode, this is your host, Aidan Lee. Go ahead and listen to this one, subscribe, and implement our actionable guidance that we'll give you from now on to change your life forever. Thank you for listening.